Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Happy winter in New England. I would appreciate that you turn off your cell phones as this meeting is being recorded. And Ellen, can you please do our roll call?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Ms. Callan Carson?
Here.
Mr. Carey?
Present.
Mrs. DeRoberts?
Here.
Ms. Hernandez-Williams?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Ms. Walters?
Present.
Mr. Weiner?
Here.
Vice Chair, Mr. Lacavoli?
Here.
Chair, Mrs. Granato?
Present.
And Weathersfield High School Student Representative, Ms. Angelica Data. All present.
Here, okay, thank you. All right, Sally Keating, could you please do the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we start out with student and staff recognition. Mr. Emmett?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Granato. Good evening, everyone. You know, we're in the midst of the budget process, and one of the things that you're seeing on the request list is for additional social workers for the Weathersfield Public Schools. So our social workers do an amazing job across the district making sure that our students and our families are safe, healthy, and taken care of. So this evening, if I could please have some members of our special services team and some of our esteemed social workers come forward for a presentation.
Countdown.
Nothing's going to blow up.
I didn't want to say that. Great. Good evening, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor, first of all, to introduce Liz Freitas, Supervisor of Special Ed, Misty Perry, our social worker at Webb School, and Kim Cheevers, our social worker at Hamner School. We're here to present the work that we've done on MTSS for SEL. And those of you who know me, you know I couldn't get through this without a boatload of acronyms, but that's a multi-tiered system of support for social emotional learning. And first of all, I just want to thank the board for all your hard work. I mean, budget time, Saturday morning meetings, all the lobbying you're doing on behalf of the district, all the work that you do for our children. I want to thank you and how much it's appreciated. And then I also want to point out how blessed I am for the department we have. Hardworking staff, and I'll just say Liz and the rest of our supervisors, special ed, Missy and Kim for our social workers, our related staff workers, our special ed teachers, our paraeducators. I really am blessed. And with this, I just want to give an example of the hard work that is put in. So as part of their professional goals, these three ladies and the rest of our social work team has decided to use MTSS as one of their professional goals. With this, I'm going to say this, MTSS really is a general ed mandate, but they realize how important it is, and believe me, they have probably, I'm going to say 20, but probably 30 other mandated items that they have to do, but they really felt that MTS is so important to really from the very beginning level with a tier 1 for all children to really make sure that we are providing the right system for social emotional learning. So really, I thank them for all the work that they've done on that. And so the things, why is it important? Okay, math, science, English, history, some of you have heard me say this before. It is important, I realize that. But also what's important is the social emotional learning. And I have a large group of friends. And I have friends that have been fired from jobs. Not one of them has ever been fired because of academic skills. Why have they been fired? They show up late. They have frequent absences. They don't know how to get along with their boss. Mr. Emmett, I love working for you, but if I didn't like you, I would know how to not get fired. And that's what we have to teach our children. No, we do. We have to teach them, how do you get along with other people? Even if you have difference of opinions, even if you don't like them, you have to learn how to get along. And that's really what we're focused on. How do we help our children get along with others? And so this really fits in with our vision of graduate, which looking at communicators, problem solvers, and collaborators. And so that fits all of that in the work that our staff have been doing of how do we teach our students from pre-K all the way up to graduation so they have those skills, so they won't be one of those people that I say, oh yeah, I have a lot of friends and some get fired from jobs. We do not want any of our children to be fired from jobs. And so with that, again, I'll thank our team, because really it's about every child, every day, and they really are the true example of that. Every child, every day. And so with that, I'll ask Liz to come to the stage. And
much as what John was saying, MTSS emphasizes the central values that we have here at Wethersfield Public Schools. It highlights our equity, our inclusion, our emphasis on collaboration and family partnerships. It's not one group of people, but a multi-system of people working together. And the reason that I feel that many of us chose this important work that was outlined in our improvement plans, both our school improvement plans and our district improvement plans, because it reflects the work of equity. The equity work that allows for accessibility for all of our students to have access to interventions, to have access to the instruction, and to have access to the people that they need to be successful. And with that, we're able to develop skills that both represent the vision of the graduate, build our communication skills in our students, build our problem-solving skills in our students, and of course build our collaboration skills. And much as John said, starting very early on, as early as preschool with our play activities, very much reflected in our work at the elementary schools, in our partnerships with parents, and of course the work that our social workers do every day with our students in their small groups and our large groups across different grade levels.
Hi. So we thought it would be important tonight to talk a little bit about the anxious generation, given the focus of the town with our town-wide book club and the impact some of that research has on our daily work. Author Jonathan Haidt presented more than a dozen items that the increase in technology use had impacted. Things such as children's social and neurological development, sleep deprivation, attention fragmentation, increased addiction, and mental health concerns. With the rise in technology usage, there's also a corresponding decrease in the amount of time that children are spending with other children in person. There is also an increase in major depression in both boys and girls, and an increase in the prevalence of anxiety across all age groups. And despite the increase in mental health concerns, in corresponding behavior concerns that we see in school, there has not been a sustained increase in the amount of mental health support at the elementary school level here in the Wethersfield Public Schools. So next, talking a little bit about equitable outcomes through the MTSS system. If you look at this umbrella, it's kind of a nice way of looking at the approach that we have, looking not only at academics, but at behavior and social emotional development, really focusing on each child as a whole child. Having 5 different elementary schools in district, MTSS offers us the ability to increase equitable outcomes. This process of addressing social, emotional, and behavior concerns in each building has been a focus of the district improvement plan and school improvement plans for at least the past 2 school years. By improving these processes throughout our district, the goal is to make sure that any student presenting with a concern will have equitable access to intervention regardless of which elementary school they attend. And now to share a little bit firsthand experience, a little story for you. We have a first grade student who, coming to school at the beginning of this school year, presented with both academic and behavior concerns. He was significantly below grade level in reading, and behavior concerns included things like not wanting to complete any of his work, leaving the classroom without permission, and he had difficulty speaking with others and advocating for himself. So as an SRBI team, which falls under that MTSS system, we were able to meet and develop 2 concurrent plans. One, to address the reading concerns through the SRBI process, and then a second SRBI plan to address the behavior concerns. Having both of these plans running with a team of people collaborating behind the scenes, we implemented reading interventions. Well, not myself, but the reading team implemented those. We had interventions such as social skills instruction, being able to work with him and other children, playing games, learning how to win and lose, how to take turns. We worked implementing a system. When he completed work and did what we needed him to do, he earned a reward. He earned a break with a preferred adult in our building. And by doing that, what we were able to do is to increase his positive relationships across our building with students and with adults. At the beginning of our plan, when we reviewed our data, he was taking between 5 and 6 breaks a day to get through his day. He needed that much support at that point in time. We had our SRBI meeting yesterday, and that student now, given the success of the interventions we put into place, is only taking breaks outside of his classroom 1 to 2 times. And sitting there with his first grade teacher, she commented, "This is the way it's supposed to be." Like, we worked together as a team, we were able to intervene early, work collaboratively to address all of the concerns together, and this student is soaring. When we see him at school, it's not only the data that shows us that there's been an improvement, but it's his smile. He has a smile that could light up a room, and he is happy to be at school. Whereas at the beginning of the year, he didn't want to be in his classroom, which is why he was walking out. Now he wants to be with his peers. He wants to be with his teachers. He has strong connections with at least quadruple the amount of adults that were sort of in his corner to start the school year. So it's stories like that that show us the success that students can have when we are able to work through processes like the MTSS process. And it not only impacts our students and has the ability for them to have success, it also works to support our classroom teachers. Because when students succeed and we are able to support them, it means everything and makes such a difference.
Thank you, Missy. I'm going to kind of bring you back a little bit and get a little bit boring again, because you brought the thunder. But in speaking of the story that Missy said, I want to just kind of go back and highlight a little bit of the work that we've done to align our systems to be able to have a story like that in February, really about 6-7 months after we really started to dive into this work. So historically, I mean, there's the triangle that I'm sure we've all seen in a lot of different references, especially in the education world. And on the left-hand side, you see the kind of the three tiers of academic support and instruction. And historically, we've had good systems in place here in Wethersfield. I think districts in general do, for that academic support from Tier 1, Tier 2, and then our highest needs kids up in that Tier 3. And this summer, the social work team got together to start to be able to align the social emotional behavioral triangle with our academic triangle. And so we worked with Amanda Pickett from the State Department of Education to start to define what that system is going to look like for social emotional behavioral support in our elementary schools. Because as you can imagine, the kids' needs were getting met in different ways depending on how they were presenting in their school setting. And so we did a lot of work on kind of identifying behaviors of concern, ways we would track that information, track that data, and have it align with our academic SRBI teams so that we were coming together and meeting the needs of the whole child and thinking about the student, the family as one, and not just a reading concern or a behavior concern or an attendance concern. And so while the MTSS umbrella is awesome to kind of like encompass the whole child and all of those systems, we've spent a lot of our time and our work developing the SRBI model under MTSS for the SEL component of that. With that, we are using our EduClimber data system. EduClimber has been able to give us snapshots of student data in terms of academic growth. All of their reading and literacy data is stored here. We have access to that data for our school building. And what we're doing through our MTSS work with SEL is making sure that their data for social emotional behavioral needs is getting put into that system as well. So we developed definitions for behaviors of concern. So incidents that happen that are behavioral incidents get documented. We have the same definitions across all 5 schools. They get documented in that system. Kids who move into tier 2 or tier 3 support through SRBI for either social emotional behavior and or attendance also get flagged in that system, as well as their literacy, their ELA, and their math SRBI goals as well. And so what it does is it allows for, if students are moving within the elementary school district, going from Webb to Highcrest, that information is already in one place. It's housed. The receiving school can share that information. It also can be viewed by the middle school and then eventually the high school, so that there's just more alignment with the support that they've been receiving at the elementary level, and then they might continue to receive, as they move up. Did I have... So I think this is still me, right? I think Missy spoke a little bit about our SRBI teams, but we are working really hard to make sure that we're working together. So the individuals who are in charge or responsible for providing the interventions for reading, math, social emotional support are coming together to meet on a regular basis. Our building principals are part of those meetings, especially as they pertain to attendance issues. We are trying to just kind of consolidate all of these siloed interventions and ways we think about kids and bring it all together. And like Missy said in her story, like it's really helpful for the classroom teachers too, because I think it just gives them more of a team to be able to work with and have them have the support that they need for the kids that are sitting in front of them. I think that's it for this. Do you want to talk about outcomes a little bit more?
So I think Missy's story, right, really highlights the outcomes that we're expecting. Student success, student skill development in the areas of our vision of our graduate. But I think the work that our social workers, the social workers have done across the 5 buildings is really a tribute to their dedication and their understanding of equitable access for systems for all students. This is a system that's not specific to Webb. This is a system that's not specific to Hamner, but a system that's specific to all students through Wethersfield Public Schools. And again, it highlights what we would see in our district improvement plan across the 3 pillars of equity, achievement, and empathy. And our work still continues as we move forward. We will be building the system in what we call our tiered interventions. We'll be looking to create more robust Tier 3 interventions and Tier 2 interventions, as well as working in partnership with our teachers to really build the capacity of their Tier 1 interventions as they work daily throughout the day with all of our students. So we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you engaging in this work with us. It's really a community effort.
Can we, anybody with comments or questions? Liz?
I want to ask you about what was that journey like coming up with the consistent definitions? You know, I think that in any industry, that's always one of the hardest, but probably most valuable things that can be done. And what was your journey like coming up with those common, you know, the consistency?
So we met, I think it was like mid-July, so we'd been out of school a little bit, coming together, we were excited, there was a lot of energy in the room. Amanda Pickett is a wonderful resource, we loved working with her. It was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I think trying to come to a consensus on anything, but when you have different experiences, everyone was bringing that to the table. We had our administrators there. It took a lot of compromise. It took a lot of conversation to kind of come to a place where we came up with these descriptions of really student behavior that we're seeing in our buildings. It was not easy.
I can imagine.
And just to add to that, it wasn't easy, but I think we just kept, our mindset was that it was to drive interventions to support our students. So we didn't want to get bogged down in the behavior or the problem of it, or have the discussion about those behaviors be the intervention. It was really keeping that focus of the point of it is to determine appropriate interventions for all kids across all schools, which was helpful. Still hard,
Absolutely.
but helpful.
Absolutely. And do you envision, you know, the middle school and the high school, will there be some sort of consistency? You're going to go for that, John? Are you going to?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
and so not that we're not forgetting about the middle school or high
Yeah.
school, we just felt elementary would be the best place to start.
Sure.
One thing about our data collection, the middle school and the high school use Power School a lot more for behaviors.
Oh.
They use the log entries, where elementary schools, it was like, where is the data around it? And so using EduClimber really has been great. I think it was actually Emerson that started last year, like just documenting, you know, different events and trying to put up with tiered. And, you know, to go back about the trying to get the collaboration, if I ask this whole group what is respect, I bet you every single one of you will give a different answer. And how do we come together and have that? But we will be working, and we meet regularly tomorrow with all psych social workers and speech and language pathologists. And so we will even be talking about SRBI and how we sort of move forward with that. So we're not forgetting secondary.
No, and I'm sure not. Thank you so
Sarah
much.
Siobhan would not let me do that.
Jim?
Just wanted to thank you all for your work, and it's nice to see that things are documented, because a lot of times those things can be lost, and also without these interventions, you know, kids could be sliding back the other way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it sounds like you're there for the classroom teachers right away, because I know some of us who have been in the profession for a long time experienced where, you know, we need 6 weeks of what have you done all by yourself. And so I think it sounds like you're there right away, and that is so important, and I'm sure very, very much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. First, thank you for coming. That was great. And I always like another explanation of SRBI because it helps me all the time. And the other thing I'd like to say is, can we clone you? We really need more social workers. Go ahead.
Yes, and I just, a shameless plug, going to back in the day in 2008, when I came aboard as Director of Special Services at the elementary level, we did not even have one full-time social worker per building. We've come a long way, and I think, you know, when we talk about telling the stories, we've talked about that at our budget workshops. The story here is that we're doing right by kids. That's our area of focus. And as I said, these professionals are second to none in terms of making sure that our students have what they need to succeed. And Liz, to your point with regard to the secondary level, I know the MTSS team at Silas Deane was meeting today. I was over there. So it is a regular occurrence even at the secondary level as well. So you see the work. It's more than just taking a group of students. It's really analyzing the data. It's sharing the techniques with the classroom teachers and engaging the entire team. So I just want to say thank you very much for your work. Very impressive and much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Just one other thing. First of all, is there a timeline in SRBI? Do you have to have your data in every so many weeks? Help me just a little bit on I know the minutia of it, but help me a little bit.
So we do, it's 6 to 8 week cycles.
Okay.
I think a difference between, really the goal of it is to keep kids in the regular education population as much as they can. And I think a lot of times with a reading or a math, you teeter and decide if we need to make a referral and do some more testing to kind of see what's going on. I think for us, we have the opportunity to actually see an impact of change by giving a little bit of extra support when they're little in that tier 1, tier 2, and to look at it every 6 to 8 weeks. And we might not change much. We might not do much differently, or we might, come back a little bit and try to take away some of the supports that they've been receiving. But I think that 6 to 8 week time period to just continue the conversation and look at the data that's in front of you at that point is really important. And that is what we're doing in our teams in the school.
And just because I'm curious, I'd love to see that EduClimber in action, if I could do that sometime. I would love that.
EduClimber, like you saw those little circles?
Yeah.
Individual students, so you can actually break it down. Like if I went to less than 80% attendance, it would actually break it down to be 30 students. And then you can click on any one of them and it's a person. It will show their little ID picture and you can click on that and it will show all their data.
Fascinating. I'd love to come and see it sometime. I would love to. And we have noticed the behaviors calming down a little bit, and I hope all of this put together with moving away from our traumatic COVID period is going to help. So thank you very much from all of us. Thank you. Wow.
Yep.
It's cool. I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we'll just wait till he brings it up. Okay, next on tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes from some of our special and regular Board of Ed meetings. So we had a special Board of Ed meeting on January 22nd, 2025, and it was our retreat. The minutes on that, may I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Did that right? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Those minutes are approved. Then our regular Board of Ed meeting on January 28th, 2025. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Thanks. Any discussion on our January 28th meeting in the minutes? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Those minutes are approved. And our last one is February 1st, 2025. We had our special budget workshop. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Those minutes are approved. And now, is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Please come on up to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you that public comments are limited to 5 minutes. And just another comment, the board members do not make comments immediately following a resident speaking at the podium. So thank you, Sally, for your understanding.
Thank you. Good evening, Sally Keating, 109 Church Street. To all of you who volunteer your countless hours for our children's education to make it the best it can be, thank you very much. I'm so moved. Sorry, the discussion was just, it hit me. I also want to thank the building committee members for their countless hours and expertise they have provided for our town. As some of you know, I attend as many building committee meetings as possible. One of the benefits of attending the meetings is that I've heard the many discussions on the opportunities and constraints of each school and of potential sites for new schools. The building committee did a thorough review of all available property in Wethersfield, and I'm sure, as most of us here know, we don't have a lot of available land. I am a resident of Old Wethersfield, and I am in full support of building a new school on the Stillman property. When Bessie Stillman sold the Stillman property to the town of Wethersfield, the quitclaim dated December 13th, 1923 reads, and I quote, "For the purpose of school buildings and school grounds." When the existing Hamner is eventually demolished, there will be a large parcel for a baseball field or other. I know fields are a big concern for a lot of people. Standish Park will not be touched. As a reminder of why we're doing all of this, the condition of our 5 elementary schools is awful. Leaking roofs, leaking windows, inefficient heating and cooling systems, asbestos, mold, etc. The buildings are old and tired. There will never be a plan that makes every resident happy. As one young mother in Wethersfield says, we cannot wait for the perfect plan. I say the perfect plan does not exist. Hamner was supposed to be renovated 18 years ago. 18 years. We need to respect and support the well thought out plan of the building committee. They're putting it together, and there will be referendums. We will need to vote yes for doing the right thing for our children, our town, and our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, anyone else coming up? All right. Mr. Emmett, you have some communication for us?
I do. Thank you, Mrs. Granado. Good evening again, everyone. I know some of you had the opportunity to get out to schools last week for Global Play Day last Wednesday. I had the privilege of getting out to 6 of the 7 schools to visit each of them to see what was going on. And to say that the vibe was positive and energetic was an understatement. Whether it be at the middle school where we had the screen-free week, where we said no Chromebooks during lunchtime, we saw kids engaged in conversation. We saw kids opening a book and reading. Across the elementary schools, whether it was over at Charles Wright, as you saw in the Friday update, students building a tent and learning about light in the media center, or the 100th Day Parade at Emerson Williams Elementary School, or the many stations at Highcrest Elementary School. Our schools were abuzz with activity and fun. There's no two ways about it. So, again, if you didn't have the opportunity to see Christine Maury's video clip, I will share it with you. I know some of you have seen it already. I will say I did participate. No workers' comp claim, but I was challenged to jump rope. I did briefly. But again, I want to be clear in talking about this. The kids were learning. And what was great about it, at Hanmer, I went into Miss DePaulis' second grade class, and they had done this great project where they made dirt and didn't realize that they were doing math. They were learning about measurement. So that's the type of thing that we look to do in our schools. We like to create environments that are fun, that are energetic, and where kids are learning and collaborating. So, excellent day. And again, a huge shout out to all of our teachers, all of our administrators, and the many parents. I know over at Highcrest we had multiple parents that came in and ran stations, and greatly appreciated. So Global Day of Play is one thing I hope stays as part of the annual calendar here in Wethersfield. As you know, we are in the midst of the budget process. Thank you all for all of you who've attended thus far. We've had 2 budget workshops. Had our second one this past Saturday. The third budget workshop will come up on Saturday, the 22nd of February. So we are working on the numbers. Obviously, the needs are large. There's no two ways about that. But we're working on crafting a budget that is responsible but meets the needs of our students. That is the key component. We had our first snow day of the year last Thursday, and again, I thank all of the students who either left a note on my office door, who emailed me, or today, for this week, I've already gotten a text through a staff member. I do appreciate the support from our students when it comes to making the decision. I do want to let everybody know, as I let some friends at the high school know today, when we have a snow day, it does add on to the end of our school year. So at this point in time, with the snow day coupled with the day that we had off to honor firefighter Sharkovich earlier in the year, we've had a total of 2 days that we'll need to make up. So our last day of school at this point is now Monday, June 16th. I do want to let the public know that the board took the action to set the graduation date on June 10th, on Tuesday. That will stay. You set it on the 180th day. So the graduation for the class of 2025 will remain on Tuesday, June 10th.
Yeah.
I also want to let the board know there will be an action item coming before you. That is a regularly scheduled board meeting night, so we will need to cancel that because I think that we'll all be over at the Cove celebrating our graduates. So that'll come forward at a future agenda. I also want to let everybody know, as Ms. Keating talked about the building project, the central office team had the opportunity yesterday to meet with representatives from TSKP to talk about Webb. Obviously, the pivot now in looking at Webb being a 5-6 school creates a whole new layer of challenges. So in addition to central office team, we had Liz Freitas. Liz oversees the preschool program and supports the LEAP and ABA programs. We also had Principal Ken Craig attend as well. We talked with TSKP about various space standards. We looked at rooms, we looked at needs, we talked about office space, we talked about areas where students could work collaboratively. So I think we were able to provide, in the approximate 90 minutes we spent with TSKP, some really good ideas moving forward. At the last building committee meeting, it was determined that Hanmer would be the swing space school with that new build. So that obviously spurs on the challenge of how do we run 2 simultaneous schools in the neighborhood. So Mr. Barabal has already gotten the invite to meet with the police department as well as the town and TSKP to talk about what those ramifications may look like. So there's a lot of work that's going on. Obviously, it continues to be important. At the State of the Town breakfast, I know I saw in the recent Wethersfield Life, and during my speech, I talked about the need for these buildings to get addressed. It's just time. So there'll be a lot more forthcoming, but we're looking forward to rolling up the sleeves and keeping at it. So with that, it's communications. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we have no presentation this evening, so we'll move along to our Board of Ed meetings held. We had a Community and Public Relations Committee on January 29th. Marjorie, would you speak to that?
Sure, I'll just briefly summarize. One of the things we did was Liz Walters, we had passed a document called Board of Education Roles, and it was just kind of in this plain paper PDF, and she created a slideshow for it. And so we just looked at that, and that's going to go on the website and replace the old paper version. And we talked about communication of the elementary school building project and kind of going forward ideas on how to better inform the public and ourselves. And one of the things we focused on was a frequently asked questions document that we could share with the building committee also with John, the liaison to the building committee. And there's already a question answer section of the TSKP website. But just to keep adding to that and think of questions that we might have or we know what we can anticipate so that the ball will start rolling with people's questions and getting information from them. So that's something we talked about doing. And we also continued our conversation about ideas for a newsletter, maybe a quarterly newsletter or twice-a-year newsletter. And I passed around some examples that Glastonbury has where they do actually a monthly called a column, I think it's called. And it's just one page. It's very simple. And they actually put it in their town newspaper, and they put it on their website every month that just goes over a different subject every month. They just pick out a different subject, and it's from the Board of Ed. So informing the town or the district about something. So just looking at different ideas just to get a little more information out to people and making at some point something that we'll be able to execute that as well. And that was about it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our special meeting of the Board of Ed, our budget workshop last Saturday.
Yep, so in the past month or so, we've had the first 2 of our 3 budget workshops. Both were held on Saturdays at the Stillman Building. The first one went for about 2 hours. The second one went for about 3 hours. We heard a lot of ideas from board members. We were able to hear from a lot of people that are working in our schools, leaders in the school district, people that are in charge of certain departments. So we got to pick their brain. It was a good back and forth. It was couple of the more productive budget workshops that I feel I've been involved with since I've been on the board, which is always good. A lot of numbers were thrown around, a lot of line items were thrown around, and eventually we will come to a consensus and agree upon what we feel the school district needs. And like Michael Emmett just said, we're going to try to do so in a manner that benefits as many students and kids as possible while keeping as many taxpayers' wallets in mind as possible. It's a fine line. It's a puzzle we have to put together, but we are working on it, and I know we'll get there. Thank you, Bobby.
All right, thank you, Matt. You do an excellent job. A Human Resource and Personnel Committee. Christina, would you speak to that?
Thanks, Bobby. We had a meeting on the 3rd, and we discussed a code of civility, and I started to kind of put together some ideas that we're hoping to get this done as a code or a document that will allow us to have positive communication, not only for the Board of Education and our staff and buildings, but also in the town council and throughout Wethersfield. It's almost like a way to just discuss business. So I'm excited about that. I'm hoping that it does happen. We discussed the secondary school surveys and just having a timeline where if we're having the survey done in March, we have a timeline of when we can gather that data, review that data so we can make some positive changes and also celebrate great things that are happening. And then we also received an HR update through email, which was great. And we also want to have more communication with our central office, just coming into our meetings. And we're hoping that we can even change the date, or not the date, but the time. So it's earlier, so that way our HR members can kind of come in and discuss things, so we have better communication to support the schools and the staff. And that's it.
Great, thank you. And then Student Program and Services on February 4th. Janice?
A short time ago, representatives from all 5 of our elementary schools reported to the full board on their school improvement plans. Each school reporting on different areas of their plans that relate to our district goals of empathy, achievement, and equity. So last Tuesday, at our Student Programming and Placement Committee meeting, representatives from Charles Wright and Highcrest schools volunteered their personal time to come and report more in depth about their schools' school improvement plans. Charles Wright has increased opportunities for staff to collaborate to better target intervention approaches in order to support all students in all areas of their development. They have collaborated to streamline the SRBI. We heard about that a bit this evening. Their scientific research-based intervention process for social, emotional, and behavior support across the district, and have used the Wethersfield Education Foundation grants to create calm down centers throughout the building. Charles Wright sees progress through the use of our district-wide implementation of UFly Foundation's phonics programs in K-3. Also in K-3, students are finding bookworms to be an engaging vehicle for developing vocabulary, background knowledge, oral language, fluency, and comprehension. K-3 is also using the decodable text series Geodes for targeted small group instruction, and the teachers are ongoing in their exploration of strategies to engage students. Charles Wright's Media Center used a Wethersfield Education Foundation grant to purchase Ozbots. You'd have to see these or look them up to understand them better, but it's to foster technological literacy and to build problem-solving, collaboration, and perseverance skills. They're really pretty cool. Highcrest School also reported positively on all aspects of our district's newly adopted literacy program. They shared a few third-grade writing samples with the committee to underscore how well students are integrating literacy skills and demonstrating their language arts progress. It was really fun. Teachers have made information available to parents as to how they may support their students at home. This year, teachers at Highcrest have an additional 45 minutes of collaborative planning time a week called D-Day, about which enthusiasm was expressed. Teachers also reported that play-based instruction has engaged kindergarten students in the learning process and in developing social skills. And they were totally psyched for the next day, which was the 100th day, the Global Play Day, Read Aloud Day, and I think the enthusiasm and the fun that they had is something to build on as we get better at integrating play, and all kinds of play into our daily school day.
Okay, thank you, Janice. And we'll move on, because we already spoke of this special Board of Ed meeting. CREC Council, and I did go to the CREC CABE Legislative Breakfast this morning. I'll comment on that when I comment on the CREC Council, which is February 19th at 11:30. And we have another special meeting of the Board of Ed, a budget workshop on 2/22. We'll see you all there bright and early Saturday morning. All right, is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Please come to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you that you have a 5-minute limit. Okay, thank you. Are there any board comments? Liz?
Yes, thank you. So what I'd like to read is a communication that I sent to the full Board of Ed. I want to make sure that the public is aware of this. So I'll read from that communication. Hello, at the end of February 8th, the Saturday's budget workshop, we discussed the importance of providing a clear picture of budget needs in a way that resonates with the town council who are not in the weeds of education like we are. To that end, we decided that we should supplement Michael's budget ask in front of the town council with us advocating for particular categories such as cost avoidance, security, special education, and more. If you don't already have a topic or category, please select one of your choosing that you're willing to advocate for at upcoming meetings. The schedule of the meetings is forthcoming. Please see below for my notes on the categories we agreed to advocate for during the budget presentation on February 8th to supplement in more detail Michael's presentation. Let's turn up the heat and advocate for WPS. And then the dates that we had identified that still need to be confirmed, but that's what we're working with. The next budget session, the workshop is February 22nd. And at that point, we'd like to practice our talking points that we'll be using in front of council. The next Board of Ed meeting is the 25th of February. On March 11th, the Board of Ed meeting, we're thinking of using that as somewhat of a dress rehearsal for our talking points, where we'll go in front of the council to support Michael on March 15th, and for the week of April 21st, when the budget workshops take place for the town. I'm not sure yet when Michael will go in front of the town, but just calling that out for that week. And again, just assuming that Michael presents during that week in addition to March 15th. On March 15th, the Board of Ed budget does go to Town Council. We have the townwide budget hearings, as I just mentioned, on the week of the 21st. And the Town Council decision on the Board of Ed budget is complete by May 15th, right? And then the last item here was that the Board of Ed members agreed to draft talking points and advocate for the following during this session: cost avoidance, special ed, grants, security, democratic process, and societal issues, and comparisons of Weathersfield to the other towns in our DIRG. We have opened up the option to pick a category to advocate for during the budget presentations to the entire board, and something that, for those who are comfortable doing that, we would move forward with that. Thank you. So that was just wanted to make that publicly shared. The second thing I wanted to share is that with regards to the building committee, I think that there has been a lot of work on this plan. I think that some of it is great, and I think some of it we could do differently. But at the end of the day, I am in full support of pushing this project forward because our schools need this, our children need this, our towns need this. I personally may not be overly happy with having Hamner as the swing school, but I am happy that we're looking to move this forward because we've spent now, two passes going after the schools. This will be our second one going up for referendum. And when we don't pass and move these projects forward, it's the kids who lose. And quite frankly, at some point, it's the town, it's the taxpayers who lose as well. I, like many, are very concerned about the increase in taxes coming up with the mill rate, the assessments, the discussions of the building committee. But I am looking forward to finding out what those financial impacts will be to me and to others, to everyone in the town, so that we can see what will hit us year one, what will hit us year two, so that we can make those informed decisions. Because if we continue to kick this can down the road, it's going to get worse and worse. And I think personally, if any of us had a leak in our house, we'd be all over it. We might lose sleep over it. We certainly wouldn't just throw a garbage can underneath it and assume that everyone was breathing okay, quite frankly. We'd be all over it. And I think that we need to look at our schools in the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, very much. Anyone else for comment? Marjorie? I'm sorry.
I just want to speak to the budget negotiations or workshops, and I just want to give a shout out to everyone who attended and the staff of the district who took time out on a Saturday morning to come out and speak to us about all the different things they do and the needs they have. The second workshop we did, it was the administrators who came, each principal had their list and were able to explain all their needs, and it was just really, really good to hear that. It was just being able to hear the detail of each school and where they're coming from, and they each have different needs, they each have different wants, and it was just really it was very also eye-opening, and hearing different stories and the context of their needs instead of just seeing needs on a budget line item. It was actually people telling you why they need these things and the stories behind it and what's happening. One of the things that's been an increasing need is social workers and special ed. Mm-hmm. And I know Janice and I went to the Capitol on the day that Governor Lamont spoke and opened up the session with his speech, and we were invited by Amy Bellows, so it was kind of like a Weathersfield day. It was really great. But one of the things he did say was that he's open to providing more state money towards special ed and being a little more flexible with that. So I'm really hoping that that's true and that we'll see those numbers. But one of the things that's hard right now is we don't know, because we're meeting and we don't know what money's going to actually come to us. So it's a struggle. But I want to just thank everybody for coming out and look forward to the next budget meeting. And the second thing I wanted to talk about is 8th grade night. I went and visited for a few minutes last week when they had 8th grade night at the high school, and I love that, the last few years, each school or each level of schools, our school system has done a great job in providing transitions, like really good transitions, and having orientations and 8th grade night and place, just times where if you're a 6th grader, they're making it an easier transition to go to 7th grade. If you're an 8th grader, they're making it an easier transition to get to the high school and showing them the school early in the year. And so they'll maybe be less stressed and anxious about it over time. But there's a ton of high school students who volunteered their time just to be there and welcoming all the 8th graders and show them all the clubs and sports. So it was just really nice to see.
Thank you. Anyone else? John?
Chuck was first, I think.
Oh, it's whoever.
I was going side by side.
Yeah, no worries. Last night, I had the pleasure to go see the girls' basketball team senior night. It was a tough loss to Platt, but it was a very nice celebration. There was 3 seniors and a senior manager. As always, they do a great job. And going way back, because I've been absent because of my job, before the New Year's, the Westfield High School hockey team had a fundraiser night to honor Mr. Sharkovich. To raise money, they sold sweatshirts in his honor, and there was a big raffle. It was a great turnout. It was at Trinity College. They were playing Newington High School, and it was nice to see there was some Hartford firefighters who came. They were on duty. They had the fire truck outside. They came to support and to donate to the family. So it was a good evening. And we have senior night for the high school hockey team coming up, and I believe the girls hockey team coming up this weekend. Both having great seasons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chuck, John.
Yeah, so good evening. I wanted to give an update from the building committee, but I think even our public comments, everybody already gave the update. But I'm going to give a couple more talking points from the meeting that was held last Monday. First off, I want to thank the public. There was a public forum in this room, I think it was now 3 weeks ago or a little less than that. That was very well attended. And then honestly, last Monday's building committee meeting was very well attended by the public as well. And, regardless of opinion on what you want to see, it was really great to see the public out to support or voice their opinion on this project. So it shows me that the town is ready to move forward with this project, which I'm very excited about. As you heard, the swing space was decided by the building committee to be at Stillman. I just want to point out and make sure that everybody understands, TSKP, they're the experts in this, right? I think you heard several people talk about this. They looked at every single site that they could possibly look at. I think you heard Sally say we're landlocked here. They looked at every single site possible. They gave great data points. You can go on their website and you can see the data points from that meeting on their minutes, and I recommend everybody do so. They really do map out the pros and cons from each site and ultimately why Stillman was selected. One thing I want to make sure that I'll advocate for, and I already have started advocating for, and I think you heard this at the building committee meetings, for those who attended, is where the swing space is at Stillman, but there is a decision on whether the old building or the new building is used as a swing space. I'm an advocate for the new Hamner being the new Hamner, and the old building being used as swing space, and I think many board members will agree with that. It'll be great for our teachers as well as our students to go into the new building and get acclimated with the new building and not have to move out again. So I'm definitely an advocate for that and will continue to advocate to the building committee for that to be in their plan. That brings me to next steps, which of course is their decision on how they're going to present the referendum to us as a board and then ultimately the town council. And I hope that is actually a part of it as well. That is the next thing that they're deliberating now, and I believe in the near future at one of their meetings they're going to decide how they're going to present that referendum. So looking forward to that. It's very exciting. As Liz said, we need to stop kicking the can down the road. I agree, couldn't agree more. So I look forward to continue to work on this. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? Jim?
Just wanted to mention that I attended the Career Advisory Board meeting last week. Great organization run by Mark Danaher, and they were looking at the breakfast that was held a month ago and the career fair that's coming up in April. Thank you.
Great. That's great. All right, I have some closing remarks. Nobody else? I want to give an update on our superintendent search. The board has received applications for superintendents, and they're due on tomorrow, February 12th. We recently received the profile of a superintendent using the surveys of the board, focus groups, and community survey. Next, the board will be reviewing applications with our consultant, David Irwin, from Cooperative Education Services. The first round of interviews are scheduled to start at the end of this month. A second round of interviews will occur in March with an elected superintendent elected in March or April. That's the timeline. The board thanks all the participants as we collected info for our profile of a superintendent, and thank all our townspeople for their keen interest in this selection. And please follow the town's big project with the building committee. Use all the websites that are dedicated to this transformative project to stay informed on information and decisions as this project moves forward. And the WFT, the Weathersfield Education Foundation, is always working on fundraising and preparing to give grants to our educators. Foundation's mission is to support and enrich the goals, missions, vision, and strategic plan of the Weathersfield Public School. Please watch for our flyers, this is when I do the commercial, that will be placed in many small businesses in town. This organization is a product of our school strategic plan to secure funding sources that make the district less dependent on our local taxes. So we thank you for your support of the foundation. And I want to give a shout out on this to Joanne Campbell, our Weathersfield High School technology teacher, for her expertise in always helping me with this, and her advertising, and for her connecting with Angelica, who isn't here tonight, but she's going to be using her tech skills and getting the foundation more social media presence. So thank you, Joanne and Angelica. And I think that's it for comments here, but we do have one more menu here, one more piece of our menu. We have unfinished business tonight, and I'm going to read a motion. I move that the Weathersfield Board of Ed approve a commitment with the Blue Path Service Dogs for the future placement of a facility therapy dog at Webb Elementary School. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion?
Just real quick, I will say that we've debated and deliberated a lot of things up here. This has been very spirited. I want to thank the board members because there was a lot of questions that were asked last time and that I did not think of. So I'm very happy to have a team around me that can pick up where I cannot. So thank you.
Hey, Jim?
I just wanted to mention that, this is kind of part of our emotional package that we have, and we should all support it. Thank you.
All right, anyone else with discussion? Okay, well,
Yeah.
John.
I was just going to say I agree with Jim and I agree with John. Rarely does it occur when we come across such a quote-unquote hot button item where we ask so many questions, but I think that that's what a responsible board does. I think a responsible board tables things and doesn't vote on them immediately when they don't have all the information. And I agree with the process of how this played out.
Me too, I do. And also, we are looking at a policy, and we have found one from a neighboring town. Thank you, Marjorie. And so we'll be working on that in our policy committee. Okay? So let's take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? So those minutes are they're not minutes, that motion is approved. All right, so we will be adjourning in a minute, but I just wanted to say one thing, a great saying for our town, because Liz has me on these quotes, as we work to build for our future. Education is the foundation upon which we build our future. It couldn't be any more true. And there's another one I have to say tonight, and it's by Albert Einstein. And he said, play is the research of children. And it's really true. And I was so excited to see those kids playing. The looks on their faces, their wonderful behavior was priceless. They were doing research. All right, so can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all, and good night. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.